All right, I'm hiding in the shade because it is super hot today. I can feel myself burning. Let's talk about how to maximize your financial output at the garden nursery. Again, this may seem self-evident to some of you, but I find that a lot of things, if you don't have a history in gardening and you don't have parents that are gardeners, it might not be self-evident, and it's okay. It's okay to be starting out in a new place, and it's okay to be learning, and there are no stupid questions in gardening at all. So I have here this hardy geranium, a cranesbill geranium named Dark Rider, and when I went to buy it at the store, geraniums actually are really easy to get many plants off of one plant. They spread, they're easy to propagate from cuttings. But when I look to buy one in the store, what I want to look for here is that there is more than one crown. And I'm going to be able to get out of this at least 2 plants for the price of one. So I looked through all of the Dark Rider geraniums and made sure I found there was only one at the plant nursery actually, but one where it was going to be easy to divide it and get 2 out of one plant. Same thing for the scabiosa. There's two separate leaders coming out of one here. So I know that I'm going to be able to divide that and get 2 plants from it. Sometimes you can get much more than 2 plants for one. For example, this Monarda bee balm here, if I look down into the base of it, I can get, let's see, probably 1, 2, 3, 4 divisions out of this. Now the upside of this is that you start out with a lot more plants for the initial investment of only 1 plant. The downside is that you have really small starts because you've divided it, and you have to be patient before it's going to fill in. Waiting for the bus to pass here. So I think that for me, it's really worth it to go ahead and buy one start, look to see how many plants I can get out of each pack and divide it as best I can, and just be patient. I feel like it fills in much more quickly than buying one start and waiting for it to expand, digging it up and dividing it. If I can divide it from the get-go and get more than one plant out of it from the get-go, I'm already ahead. And I don't have to invest in at $4.50 or $5 a pot. I don't have to invest in 5, 6. I can just buy one. So let me show you how I break them apart and divide them to get multiple plants. Okay, so I just have an old bucket that I use to basically move dirt and compost and to divide my perennials, and it's got fresh, clean water in it. Let's start with our Monarda bee balm. Now, when you get it from the plant nursery, you want to tap it out upside down. This one's not particularly root bound. And to figure out how many plant starts I can get from it, I have my best guess from what I can see above ground from the plant nursery. And now I'm going to actually wash my plant and look at what the roots are doing and get a look at that crown underneath and figure out where I can divide it. Now, I obviously am going to be able to tease several plants off of this. So as I keep rinsing really well, I can get a good look at the roots and the growth habit of the plant. So right here, I'm going to be able to divide off of here and off of here, and probably right down the middle. So this is where I would take my knife or my hori-hori, and I would come in and cut these apart. When you pull off or cut off a start, you want to make sure that you've got roots with it. Now, when I go to plant this, it doesn't have this giant section of roots on it, it's little. So I'm going to pinch it back like that, so that because there's not as much below ground, I don't want it to have to support a lot above ground. And now I have one new start. And I'm going to continue this process until I have divided this into at least 4 plants. Let's look at this geranium. Same thing, we're going to flip it over, tap it out, look at what's going on. Not super root bound here, looking good. You can see some of the main leader roots. Now, these little feathery roots that you see when you get your perennials, those are roots that the plant really needs. So you want to take care of those little delicate roots. Are super important. They are what helps feed the plant, and these big anchor roots help hold it in. Right here, I can clearly see that I can come in with my knife, and there's enough root material on both sides that I'm going to be able to divide this in half and get 2 plants out of it. Now let's look at our scabiosa. Same thing, upend it. Oh, we are looking a little bit more root bound on the bottom here. I didn't have any other choices at the plant nursery. Ideally, you don't want to get a root bound plant. See, our roots are going to be a little stressed out here. You don't want to plant this like this. You want to take it and break this up. You can take your knife or your pruners and kind of cut it, but otherwise the plant will just continue to circle itself. You can actually cut some of these off altogether. Put them in your compost. because you want your plants to have their roots reach out into the soil. You don't want to have them twisting around in a circle and strangling themselves. So my scabiosa here, my water's getting a little muddy. By the way, I will use this water full of all of this potting soil to water in my plants when I do plant them. Now this is going to be also another opportunity to get 2 scabious off of one purchase. So as I continue to rinse the roots, you can see here, I'm going to be able to pull apart. Some of these you need to cut and some you'll need to pull. You just need to look at whether they're 2 entirely separate plants or whether they are one plant that is going to be able to be divided with a knife. And also when you pull, make sure you've really done a good job washing your roots and untangling and loosening them so you get the maximum root ball for each plant. It's a bit like untangling a ball of yarn. If you have a cat or, like me, poodles that like to play with your yarn, it's a bit like untangling a tangly ball of yarn. But that's okay, it's worth it. For my 5 minutes of effort, I'm gonna save myself $4.50. Sometimes, you know, save myself $4.50 times 4 or 5, depending on the plant. But with the scabious, this was the maximum number of babies I could get off any of the ones available in the plant nursery was 2. So now I've gotten my 2 scabious here, one of them with a little bit bigger root ball. So as with the other plants, I want to make sure I remove the upper foliage to some extent because I have a little bit smaller of a root system to support it. And now these can get rinsed off and I'm ready to plant both of my good looking scabious in 2 different places in the garden or spread them apart and put them out like this. So let me show you what I've got all together. My finished plants all ready to go. I have turned 3 plants from the plant nursery into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plants. All ready to plant out, get a good drink, and get going in the garden. So I hope that little trick helps you as you are looking to maximize being an economical and budget conscious gardener, whether it be in a cottage garden, flower garden, permaculture garden, veggie garden. This is a trick you can use if you are buying starts from the garden center and want to put minimal financial input for maximum output. Look really closely at what you're buying and make sure that you can purchase plants that you can divide before you even pot them out. So thanks for watching. I will be back probably tomorrow. It's really hard for me to not make a video every single day in the spring because there is so much going on in the garden. So I'll probably be back tomorrow. Hope you all enjoy the sunshine if you're in Portland and stay safe wherever you are.